Prince, once loved by Israel, now hangs between heaven and earth. But how did David's own son fall this far? This is not only a story of rebellion. It is a story of beauty, silence, revenge, and a father's broken heart. Absalom, son of King David, was admired across Israel. No man was praised for beauty as he was. From head to foot, Scripture says, there was no blemish in him. Even his hair became part of his fame. But inside David's house, hidden pain was growing. Absalom had a beautiful sister named Tamar. Amnon, David's firstborn, became consumed by desire. Then Jonadab gave him a wicked plan. Amnon asked the king to send Tamar, pretending he only needed care from his sister. Tamar obeyed her father. She came to serve, unaware that danger had already entered the room. When the servants left, Amnon revealed the evil in his heart.
Tamar pleaded for righteousness. Amnon refused to listen. And after his sin, his desire turned into hatred.
Tamar, once clothed as a royal daughter, now walked in shame and sorrow. Absalom understood. He took Tamar into his house, but inside him, hatred began to burn. My lord, the report is true. Amnon assaulted Tamar. David was furious, yet Scripture does not record. For 2 years, Absalom said nothing to Amnon. But silence was not forgiveness. It was waiting. Then came the sheep-shearing feast. Absalom invited the king's sons, and his trap was ready. David hesitated when Absalom asked for Amnon. But at last, the king allowed his sons to go.
When Amnon was drunk, Absalom gave the command. Revenge stepped out of the shadows.
The king's sons fled in fear, and a terrible report raced toward Jerusalem. At first, David believed every prince had died. The palace fell into mourning. Only Amnon is dead. Jonadab knew the truth. Only Amnon had died, for Absalom had planned this since Tamar's disgrace. Absalom fled to Geshur, the land of his mother's father. There he remained for 3 years. David mourned Amnon, yet his heart also longed for Absalom, the son who could not return. Joab saw the king's heart, so he sent for a wise woman and prepared a story to move David.
She came dressed in grief and told the king of 2 sons, one dead and one threatened by blood revenge.
David understood the hidden message. The story was about Absalom. The king allowed Absalom to return to Jerusalem, but not to see his face. He came home, yet remained distant. For 2 more years, Absalom did not see the king. He had sons and a daughter, whom he named Tamar. Yet peace still did not live in his heart. Absalom called for Joab, but Joab would not come, so the prince chose fire to force an answer. Absalom burned Joab's field, and at last Joab came. Absalom demanded an audience with the king. If he was guilty, let David judge him. Father and son were outwardly reconciled, but beneath the kiss, rebellion was already forming. Soon Absalom made himself look like a king. Chariots, horses, and 50 men ran before him. Each morning he stood by the gate, listening to the people, and planting doubt about David's rule. He kissed the people, praised their causes, and slowly stole the hearts of Israel. After 4 years, Absalom asked to go to Hebron, claiming he must fulfill a vow to the Lord. David said, "Go in peace." But peace was the last thing Absalom intended. Secret messengers spread the signal. When the trumpet sounded,
Israel must declare Absalom king. Then the cry rose from Hebron, "Absalom is king!"
Even Ahithophel, David's trusted counselor, joined the rebellion. The conspiracy grew strong. Then the warning reached Jerusalem. The hearts of Israel had gone after Absalom. David knew the danger. If they stayed, Absalom would bring disaster upon the city. The king left his throne, his palace, and his city. The mighty David became a fugitive. The ark followed him, but David sent it back. He would not use holy things to force God's hand. David climbed the Mount of Olives weeping. Betrayed by his son, he placed himself in God's hands. When David heard Ahithophel had joined the rebellion, he prayed that the counselor's wisdom would fail. Then Hushai came. David sent him back, not as a soldier, but as a hidden weapon. Absalom entered Jerusalem, but David had already planted Hushai inside the rebellion. Absalom publicly dishonored his father's house, making the break with David unmistakable.
Ahithophel gave deadly counsel. "Strike David tonight, while he is weary and weak."
But Absalom asked Hushai for another opinion. At that moment, David's prayer began to move. Hushai warned that David was no ordinary fugitive. He was a warrior, and his men were fierce. All Israel will be gathered as the sand by the sea. Hushai offered a slower, grander plan, feeding Absalom's pride. The Lord had determined to defeat Ahithophel's good counsel, so disaster would come upon Absalom. When Ahithophel saw his counsel rejected, he went home, set his house in order, and ended his life. Hushai's warning moved quickly. David must cross the Jordan before morning. Before dawn, David and all his people crossed the Jordan. Not one remained behind. At Mahanaim, God provided comfort through loyal hands. The weary king and his people were fed. Absalom also crossed the Jordan, appointing Amasa over his army. Father and son moved toward war. David divided his forces under Joab, Abishai, and Ittai. The battle for the kingdom was near. David wanted to go with them, but the people said his life was worth more than 10,000.
Before all the people, David gave one command: deal gently with the young man Absalom. The battle took place in the forest of Ephraim, where the trees themselves seemed to swallow men.
David's servants defeated Israel that day, and the loss was great. 20,000 fell. Then Absalom fled through the forest, and the very sign of his beauty became his snare. His head caught in the oak, and he was left hanging between heaven and earth. A man saw him and told Joab, but fear of David's command held his hand back.
"Why did you not strike him down? I cannot raise my hand against the king's son. The soldier would not disobey the king."
Joab ignored David's command. In the forest, Absalom's rebellion came to its bitter end. The trumpet sounded. The chase ended. Absalom was buried beneath a great heap of stones. He had built a monument to preserve his name, yet his story became a warning. Now the news had to reach David. Victory had come, but so had heartbreak. David asked only one question, not about the throne, not about victory, about his son. When the Cushite answered, David knew. Absalom was dead. David cried, "Oh, Absalom, my son!" Beauty